everyone. Welcome to the Rebel Mystic live stream. I am Leandra Witchwood, and I'm just getting things set up so I can see you in the chat and respond to everybody. So today we are going to talk about the summer solstice, which is tomorrow. And for those of you who are not familiar with my work, I am a witch. I'm a podcaster, I'm a blogger, an author, and oops, and I'm throwing things. And I try to teach others how to live a magical life, and that's my goal, is to live that magical life as well. So as I journey through and take my decades of experience and utilize them and my decades of knowledge and put them to use, I teach you to do the same. So welcome everybody. If you're here with me, just pop into the chat and say hello. Post any of your questions. Encourage each other. This is a community effort. So summer solstice, that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we start to do that, I'd like to take some time to create our sacred space. If you watching right now, if you're in a position to light a candle or incense, or do whatever makes you feel like you can create a sacred little bubble for yourself right now before we start discussing everything, go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that with a green candle this time. And I chose green because it is very much associated with this time of year. And we'll discuss that a little bit further going forward. So I'm going to light this candle. And as I light it, I just want to invite all the helpful spirits, the spirits that help me on my path, the spirits that help you on your path, the ones who look after us, the ones who, divert us from harm and those sort of things. All those ones that lived well and died well. I invite you into this space. So welcome everyone. The Rebel Mystic live stream this week is about the winter solstice, as I said. And this is where we're going to talk about this energy of the solstice and how it relates to creating balance in our life. So the summer solstice is a time of light and growth and prosperity. The solstice marks the longest day of the year, where contrary to it, its contrast is Yule, which is the winter solstice, which marks the longest night of the year. So this is a time to definitely get outside and celebrate the sun and all the opportunity and bounty it brings to us. I also want to get in there and talk about balance and how that integrates into the solstices and what they speak to in that aspect. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, the summer solstice is marked at 5:13 a.m. June 21st. So tomorrow at 5:13 a.m. And that's when it begins. And it's when we start experiencing that long day. And right now where we are in Pennsylvania, it's actually, the weather is very mild. It's almost spring-like, which I totally welcome. I'm not a big fan of hot, humid weather. So I'm totally on board with this little break in the heat that we've been having lately. But I know some people really like that summer weather, and some people want to celebrate the summer solstice doing summery things, and that's perfectly fine. But you might find that a little bit difficult right now in our area because it is a little chilly. So swimming and that sort of thing might not be something you want to do, but there's other things you can do, and we'll talk about those. So this time of year is a great time for fertility. Everything's growing, everything's green. The fruits, I have blackberries right outside my door here, and I can see them starting to form. All the flowers have fallen off, and now we have berries starting to form. So I have to keep my eye on them because the birds also like those berries, and they will snatch them up as soon as they're ripe, or sometimes even before. You might notice a lot of your pieces of your garden are really starting to, bud and bloom and become alive. So this time of year is about abundance. It's about growth. It's about that growing season where we can experience prosperity in the goals and aspects that are related to that. It also marks that period where we start to go into the harvest season as well, the darker part of the season. As that wheel turns, we have our ups and downs. Well, a lot of people use this time to start reflecting on darkness and shadow work and going within. And this is a great time to do that, but not just, full force, because we're not quite there yet. I typically don't do my full force shadow work until Mabon, when we're fully into the dark season. And we're starting to really dig into that wintry feel, the going within feel. This is still very much outwardly. We're going to be outwardly for until September. And it's going to be the outwardly vibrant and energetic, fiery energy. So this is a climax. Specifically, the solstice is a climax of the season. So we'll start seeing the sun get a little weaker. I don't really, use air quotes in that because it's not really getting weaker, but we start pulling away from the sun. The earth physically pulls away from the sun. So we will start seeing days getting shorter. It's not going to stay, bright or light until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It's not going to be as light early in the morning. Like right now, literally the birds in my yard start singing at 4:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, because it's starting to get light at that time, where I I hear them and I'm trying to sleep. But they're in the trees right outside my windows, and they're loud, they're boisterous, they're energetic. And that really speaks to the energy of this time of year. It's energy, it's vibrance, it's prosperity. It's, the babies are leaving the nest, and the baby bunnies are everywhere, getting bigger. And it speaks to us in that aspect of growth and prosperity on an energetic and spiritual level. So this is a time to really look inward as far as, what did we plan for ourselves this year? What did we want to achieve? And where are we at in that timeline? Have we achieved what we want to achieve? Are we on our way to it? What setbacks have we, or pitfalls have we encountered? And this is a great time to really evaluate those things. Some of you may have started it at the full moon, which is excellent. And right now we're in the waning moon, so it's a great time to burn away the things that don't serve you. And we're going into that fiery energy. So think of the fiery energy of burning away the things that don't serve you, or just eliminating things that don't give you what you need in your best interest. So that could be relationships, that could be habits, that could be a job, that could be a car, it could be anything in your life that you can identify that is not serving you in the best way it possibly could. And that could be an attitude that you hold to. So there's many, many things that you can explore here that will give you insight. But for me, this is really a focus on cycles and knowing that everything has its ups and downs. And how am I contributing more to my downs than my ups? What is my inner knowing trying to tell me? What is important to me right now? And what is my desired outcome? That's where I'm going to focus. So if you have a journal that you use, like, these are some really great questions to ask yourself. In what ways are you denying your inner knowing? What's important to you right now? What's your desired outcome? That sort of thing. So as we realize that this time of year is about abundance and balance, we need to also realize it's a time to realize the collective consciousness that's happening right now. There's so much suffering in the world. There's so much going on that impacts us in ways that we don't expect. So gas prices are a great example of that. Everybody's feeling that pinch. But it's a symptom of a bigger problem. So this is a great time of year to really reflect on ways that we can help solve those collective issues. And it always starts with us personally, our habits, our mindsets, our daily attitudes toward things. How are we creating these things that stifle us or hurt us when other things go awry? How do we create our own sustenance and our own abundance through a better attitude or a better habit or a better way of being? So I know a lot of people out there like, this is a great energetic time of year, but we're feeling really low, we're feeling really down, we're feeling really isolated and maybe fearful and maybe a little depressed. And this is a great time to figure out within us what needs to happen to wake us up, what needs to happen to get us out there and resolve whatever it is that holds us back, right? And that's something that I think a lot of us, we just kind of end up in these divots in our lives instead of building a ladder to get ourselves out of it, if that makes sense. So the veil of, oh, woe was me, I can't, I won't, it becomes this habit that we have to abolish in our lives, or we have to remedy in our lives. Sometimes it's necessary. And I really am a firm believer that friction, it's necessary for growth. The whole analogy of you can't create a diamond without pressure, without heat, right? And when we're complacent, then we don't grow. So if you're feeling uneasy, if you're feeling agitated, if you're feeling like things are just not working, that's a great indication that you need some pressure, that there's something there that's kind of grinding away at you and you need to focus on it. And, it's a simple concept, but sometimes often hard to really look into and allow ourselves to become part of, right? So I'm just looking at the time here to make sure that I'm not rambling on and taking up too much of your time. So consistency is one thing that we can do to help ourselves out of a funk or help ourselves get into a rhythm of prosperity and growth. And believe me when I say that, the whole idea of meditation and, getting these routines in and doing these things every day, like hydrating and eating well and exercising and, again, meditation, all these things are supposed to be, great for your health, right? Well, they are. They really are. They help. And this time of year is going to be that time when we really need those routines, those positive reinforcements for ourselves, because part of what happens in this solstice is it's beckoning us to really pay attention, to really look at our lives and the people and the things in our lives that, that don't serve us. So, when people do and say things that are contrary to what you were expecting when they, I'm getting off track, but the point is, believe people with their actions rather than what they say. And this is going to be a time of year where that's illuminated. And I think it really started with this full moon and the one before that, because things are really getting shaken up. A lot of sacrifices are being made. And that is something that's hard for us to deal with, because it can send us into a downward spiral of, oh crap, I am worthless and I can't even do this, or, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I think I should eat a worm and die type mentality. And it seems so childish when you talk about it, but when we feel it deeply. We feel it to our core. And to have things in place that help us climb out of that divot, a ladder that we can build for ourselves, that help us realize that it takes two to tango. So not one person is the core of the problem. So when you're in this energy and you start realizing that things around you aren't working, people aren't working, relationships aren't working, cars not working, jobs not working, finances are not working, all that stuff, even crystals, if they're not working for you, there's something there that you need to shift. And when you become very aware of your patterns and very aware of your limitations, very aware of what you're willing to tolerate, then things start to shift and fall into place in ways that you didn't expect. So all of this leads me to ask one question. What will we do about this? What will you do when you are faced with the dilemma of this isn't working, the relationship's not working, the car's not working, the house or the living arrangement's not working, the paycheck isn't working, it's not working for you. What will you do about it? How do you want to witness your transformation? What in your head will give you hope? What in your life could give you hope? What could you do today that will change the outcome for tomorrow? What could you plant today that will allow you to harvest later and have a better outcome for your future? And so how do we do this? How do we tap into who we are, what we're doing, and how do we realize, this collectiveness? How do I tap into it? How do I become something that I've never known how to be? That takes practice, but there's simple techniques. There's simple things you can do that'll help you tap into the collective consciousness and realize things. There are simple techniques that help you tap into your own personal knowing. And this is where you're really going to have that aha moment, is when you tap into your personal knowing, your inner knowing, that inner guide, that inner wisdom that is really, it's always trying to guide you. But we are very good at kind of brushing it to the side, thinking, oh, that's too woo, I can't listen to that. It's not logical, right? We're taught at a very young age to dismiss our intuition at the expense of what truth is for us and what our authenticity really is. And you have to learn to trust yourself. You have to learn to trust your intuition. It's telling you what you should and should not do. Even when you have a very loud voice in your head or outside of you telling you, no, this is the way, you got to do this, you got to do it this way, you got to do it this way. I have learned that the loudest voices are often the wrong voices. They're not the ones you should be listening to. So when we hit times of deprivation, when we hit times of uncertainty and fear, or when we are looking to enter something new in our life that has promise, we really have to tap into that inner knowing. We have to listen to it, because if we don't, we're going to be led astray. So as the season buds and grows and then starts to wane, we are reminded that we need to establish our own inner relationship with ourselves. And we have to find balance within whatever it is that's going on in the world, with whatever energy is being projected onto us, with whatever energy we are faced with, which may be a tough decision, maybe it's something more than just a tough decision. Maybe it's a whole life-changing experience. We have to find balance in that. And as humans, that means we have to get out of our head and into our heart. We have to move from the think all the time so we can stop and listen. So it's interesting how in order to listen to someone speak, we have to be quiet, right? Well, in order to listen to our inner voice direct us and our inner intuition, allow it to direct us, we also have to quiet our mind. We have to quiet that chatter that's constantly going on. I know what you know what I mean. We always are listening to some voice in our head that is not necessarily for our greater good. So I'm going to teach you a quick exercise that I practice daily. This is something you can do anytime, anywhere. And it has been proven that when we focus on this part of our body, then we become less matter and more energy. What does that mean? So, if you're familiar with chakras, energy centers in the body, or energy fields, or the energy body itself, then you're familiar with that there are different points of energy in our body that do different things and act differently. One of those energy bodies is our heart. Um, it's classified differently in different cultures. Most of us are familiar with the chakras. So the heart chakra is where I'm going to lead you today. And this is typically in the Western um, society, it's typically thought of as green, and it resides somewhere in our chest area. So with this connection, what researchers have found is when we start focusing on the heart, we suddenly tap into its naturally occurring magnetic field. So the heart itself is almost like it's a second brain for us, and it creates its own electromagnetic field. And when we tap into this, either by ourselves, and especially when we tap into it as a collective, this field grows. And they've discovered things that are amazing when, especially when groups really start to tap into this field and start breathing into it and focusing on it in a mass sense. Crazy things happen, like crime rates drop. People who experience chronic pain start feeling less pain. Chronic illnesses start to heal, that sort of thing. So there's amazing things that happen when we start really dropping out of our mind and into our energy. And that's what I mean by creating those daily practices where you're focused on your greater good and your best benefit and your healing. So I'm going to teach you a simple exercise that really might seem like nothing at first, but if you start using it regularly, you will really start feeling a difference. And for me, it'll feel different for everybody, but for me, when I do this every morning, it feels electric, like my entire body lights up, and I literally, in my eyes, and I wear so I don't know how this is happening, but it's amazing. So I wear a mask that is completely dark, so blacked out. I can't see any light whatsoever. But when I breathe into my heart center, I see flashes of light, and it feels electric. So I know for a fact that this electromagnetic field is activating, and that helps when we are facing life in general. It helps bring us back to center. Our heart chakra is that bridge between all of our energy centers, and it, think of it as like a command center in a way, so that we can really balance and regulate ourselves. So here, the exercise is super simple. Let me get to it. Basically, the only thing you're going to do is breathe. Belly breathing, deep breathing. Close your eyes. Start breathing. And let your breath regulate itself. So you don't have to force the breath, but keep breathing normally. And then bring that breath into your heart. Bring it into your chest. And that doesn't mean breathe from your chest. Keep breathing normally. So belly breathing is ideal for us because that fills the entire lung or lungs. But get yourself to a rhythm where you're breathing fully, but not forcing it. Very gentle. And the energy you're focusing on when you're breathing is in your heart. And if it helps you to visualize green, a green flower, green petals, whatever it is, if it helps you visualize that, go ahead. And set an intention for yourself. Set an intention for your heart center. Maybe it's finding balance today. Maybe it's finding peace. Maybe it's finding resolution. Maybe it's healing. whatever it is. But as you breathe in and out rhythmically, set that intention in your heart. And breathe into your heart space. And continue to breathe. You can do this in a bathroom if you need 5 minutes. You can do this at your desk if you need 5 minutes, in your car. I have done it in the grocery store, in the restroom at the grocery store, because I needed 5 minutes to regulate my energy before I go in to face everybody else's energy, right? And like I said, I do this every morning before I start my day. It's one of those simple tasks you can do where you're focused on the heart, you focus on your heartbeat, focus on that field that your heart creates, that electromagnetic field that is so healing and regulating and stimulating at the same time. So as we go into this energy and we start to, harvest what we planted, or plant and plan for harvest later, think of how you're interacting with that energy. How are you are you coming from a place of anxiety? Are you coming from a place up here that's not serving you, or are you coming from your heart? And each time you ask yourself that question, immediately just drop down into breathing and breathe into your heart. Breathe into your heart center and allow it to help you. Allow it to help you regulate, and allow it to get you into a place of balance so you can face the light and the dark equally. And you can mimic the summer solstice, be at your peak while you're balanced between light and dark, like straddling that line, right? So if this, let me see, what time is it? Okay, so it's almost time to close up. And I would like to invite you to the Rebel Mystic community. It's a private community off of Facebook, so that it's a lot more private, it's a lot more secure. And I will be closing registration for the enrollment for this community on July 10th. So if you'd like more information, I will, I'm going to drop the link in the chat so you can check that out. It's also in the link is also in the description of this event. Let me drop that in real quick. And I hope that you'll want to, experience more of this with me, and, take some of my courses, and we can really, get into a place of balance and creating this magical life that serves us and that is fulfilling, and, something we don't need a vacation from, right? So it's time to close up. Thank you for joining me. And I would like to thank all the helpful spirits for coming. I'm going to leave this candle to burn out, but I do want to acknowledge the helpful spirits that come and join us and help us in this, and, watch over us every single day. Blessed be.